Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Our Father, our God, as we approach that may give us a better insight of what he bore in the cross, what his glory may be in the crown, may thy blessings, as promised through him, be with us as we study together in his name. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. If we come to understand these lessons and that to which they are leading, and if we hope to lead others in the way, we will find it necessary to analyze ourselves as to that which is, which has been, and which may be the impelling influence in our lives. We must discard everything that bespeaks selfishness or the magnifying of those desires that are gratifying only to the carnal influences in our lives. In previous lessons, truths which could be applied in anyone's daily life have been presented. In studying this lesson, the cross and the crown, we have the opportunity to take a definite stand if we accept the following decision as our own. For I determined not to know anything among you, save Jesus Christ and him crucified. Do we feel that the cross represents something very definite in the life of each of us in our activities through the earth? The Christ Spirit is led in the presentation of truth in every age, in every clime, and came at last to the cross. He triumphed over death, hell, and the grave. We choose this way not in an attitude of narrow-mindedness, but with a glimpse of the freedom which it brings. Embodying, as it does, the light and truth of the eternal and universal Spirit of the divine Creator. Let us pause as we take up the study of this lesson, and each of us asks ourselves this question. Why have I chosen the way of the cross? To troubled minds and tired hearts the way seems long and hard. Bypaths and shortcuts beckon invitingly, but the eternal self cannot be hushed for long with the things that satisfy not, for it urges ever onward toward the everlasting. In passing through various experiences in the earth plane, we come at last to recognize and accept his way, the way of service, the way of sacrifice, and the way of selflessness. We come to realize that there is no other way to attain our ultimate goal except the one trod by him who made the supreme sacrifice that we might find our way back to the Father. We come to realize that, in fact, there is no other name given among us whereby we can be saved from self except through him. The way of the cross which he chose will lead us out of our dissolution and into the light of understanding of our true purpose in the world. Then the cross becomes a symbol of that which must be borne and overcome in every life. It is natural that as we study, the purpose of our trials becomes more apparent. We begin to realize that we must overcome if we would go on. Those things in our hearts that hinder our progress must be torn out and cast aside. This is not easy to do without his help. He, having gone all the way, understands all our trials and temptations and, in love, willingly gives strength to us. I am the way, the truth, and the life. In him is all, and when accepted, the way is made so plain that we need not stumble. He is, indeed, the light that lighteth every individual. He came into the world understanding the laws of all things visible and invisible, and demonstrated his power over all forces, even death. He showed that the way is the way of love. As we emulate his example by taking up our cross daily, our desires are more and more to help others. We take upon ourselves joyfully the cares, the troubles, and the crosses of those whom we contact in our little world. It is, we know, because of this divine love, which is thus manifested in our lives, that we can rejoice in that we are counted worthy to choose the way of the cross and suffer for his name's sake. With our ideal, the Christ, as the pattern, we have the satisfaction that our approach to the Father is assured. We know that his Spirit is already bearing witness with our spirit that we are heirs and joint heirs with him. There is a consciousness of his force, his power, and his activity in every element of action. So, in bearing our crosses we overcome those conditions that would hinder us in meeting the issues of life. When this is realized, the reason for choosing the way of the cross becomes evident. Not to choose is to acknowledge a misunderstanding of the purposes of life and the way toward the realization of life eternal. Who has learned obedience otherwise than through suffering? As to the material appearances in the earth, not all may be given here at once. For, while many strange influences arise, these are chosen that ye may know thyself to be thyself and, if ye will choose the way, one with that light, that love that brings peace and harmony into the lives of all who seek his ways. Why does one do good for self or God? That it may know itself to be itself. Sin, evil, hate, destroys. As the entity experiences that discontent brings confusion to anything. Then, good accumulates. Good grows. God is good. That the cares of this world, the deceitfulness of place, position, that is sought oft among men, in the owning of houses, lands, and of those things that would wean men's hearts away from following in the straight and narrow path. But know he knows what ye have need of before ye ask him, and wilt thou keep thine heart, he will even open the heavens to pour out a blessing upon thee. In the present, then, let not those of faults or failures make for questionings. It is not what one once did that counts, but what one will do about that it knows to do today. Let that mind be in thy activities as ye found in self in his presence when he wept with Mary, Martha and that household. Let that mind be in thee as was when ye listened to Stephen, as he brought about the explaining of the various influences which had brought about the different beliefs of the groups of which ye were a part in thy early experiences in that land. Know that they all came to that conclusion as he gave. That he alone whom thou crucifiest may give that forgiveness as may bring one into the consciousness of the abiding presence of the Christ. Be in that mind ye had as ye listened and saw those of all tongues, all faiths, hear the words of Peter as he sought for all to put away the thoughts of self and to accept, believe and be baptized. And those thoughts remain steadfast. In that belief is so well expressed by one whom ye later learned to reverence, but who so oft brought disappointment and turmoil to thee. That others may believe this or that, but on Jesus the Christ do I stand, as the Savior, and him crucified. That is the hope of man. That is thy hope. Yet those activities of the entity, especially in the churches of Asia Minor and the activities in Rome, when, in the latter portion of Paul's sojourn there, the acquaintance with Peter and Paul brought to the entity a conviction that will ever be that which causes it to proclaim, there is only one church. Even Jesus, the Christ. Hold fast to that. Let not those disturbances as caused thee through those experiences in Pamphylia and Laodicea bring about such disturbances as arose between thee and Lucius as part of the activity in the church there. But rather hold to that which is the criterion. I am determined to know nothing among men save Jesus, the Christ, and him crucified. Not the man, Jesus, but that which would keep men from knowing of that consciousness and promise that has been and is a part of every soul that seeks to know him. For he indeed stands at the door of every consciousness of man that seeks to know. And will enter if man will but open. Let thy activity, then, whether in that capacity as the minister of the gospel or as the minister of the gospel of the law, be in that attitude of loving and making for that intercession for the wish and the experiences of every soul that is seeking to know more of its relationships to its Maker. You will have before you the information given this morning through this channel in the interpretation of the dreams recently had by the body Edgar Cayce, present in this room. You will please interpret this interpretation in a manner that will be understandable to the mind of Edgar Cayce, using illustrations in a manner that will not be misleading to this body. For he seeks to know the will of God and is willing to pay the price. In the interpretation, then, O King, know that thy Redeemer liveth, and seeks that thou would be a channel through which many may know the way of the cross. For, as this may be presented, know nothing among men save Jesus the Christ and him crucified. In the vision where self leading others over those things that to some are snares, or their representations, by pitfalls and the wary places. Though self may walk over dry shod, others must of their own environ, own development, shun such. Rather crucify in self those things that would easily beset and remove them far from thee. In breaking through from those things that hinder in the material, such as would defile the body, numb the senses or make for impurities in the body, from such abstain. In those that make for love, purity of purpose, of aim, these bring the light of the glory of the Father, who so loved us as to give his Son. In this manner, then, may the will, the call, the understanding, come to thine own self, that others through thee may have the better understanding of that may make their lives a portion of the whole. In the illustration of same, then, know that the body is the temple of the living God. Present same as a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable, unto him. Which is but a reasonable service. Know, too, O Son, I have given thee a new commandment, that ye love one another, even as the Father in me, I in thee, may be one with that light is shown to keep those entanglements from thine mind, thine heart, thine soul. We are through. What, then, is his will? That ye may eschew evil, and do good unto those that ye contact day by day. For as ye meet, as ye think, as ye do unto the least of thy brethren, ye do unto that God in thy holy self. For as ye meet unto him, ye meet unto thy Maker within, yea and without. And he is not holding any guiltless that of themselves choose to magnify hate or malice or selfishness, or the things that take hold upon fear or death, or even hell itself. But they that show in their daily experiences the seeds of the Spirit of truth. Patience, long-suffering, gentleness, kindness, even to those that despitefully use them. They may then know that he will walk with them. In the history, then, of the resurrection as ye have recorded in part, may it be so interpreted that those here, now, that experienced, through that period of their advent, his suffering, may, as Andrew, Martha, Naomi, Lodolwa Phoenix Phoebe, again see those days. Though there were fears from the elements without, from the political powers that made for fears of body and mind, there were the rememberings that he had given, though ye destroy this temple, in 3 days it will rise again. And then as he hung upon the cross, he called to those that he loved and remembered not only their spiritual purposes, but their material lives. For he indeed in suffering the death on the cross became the whole, the entire way. The way, the life, the understanding, that we who believe on him may, too, have the everlasting life. For he committed unto those of his brethren not only the care of the spiritual life of the world, but the material life of those that were of his own flesh, his own blood. Yea, as he gave his physical blood that doubt and fear might be banished, so he overcame death. Not only in the physical body but in the spirit body. That it may become as one with him, even as on that resurrection morn. That ye call thy Eastertide. It is that breaking forth from the tomb, as exemplified in the bulb of the tree of nature itself breaking forth from the sleep, that it may rise as he with healing in its very life, to bring all phases of man's experience to his consciousness. That indeed became then the fulfilling of the law. On what wise, then, ye ask, did this happen in materiality? Not only was he dead in body, but the soul was separated from that body. As all phases of man in the earth are made manifest, the physical body, the mental body, the soul body became as each dependent upon their own experience. Is it any wonder that the man cried, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Study. As thou didst in the Macedonian land, as thou did in those periods when ye sought to know the man acquainted with grief, yet a power of might, a man among men. Him that walked in Galilee, him that defied all the Romans' influence, he that defied even his brethren in the Sanhedrin, he that aided in making the paths straight that they that walked therein might know the light and the truth. Thou, in thine self, then, may help thy fellow man. The soul's awakening, whether from the body or the body from without, must find expression from within. For there has he promised to meet thee, in the mount of thine own self. Hence give of self's strength that thou may have life, and having life have it more abundantly in him. For thy abilities are many. Make of them that which is more and more the manifestation of thy Lord. In the developing of the mental, soul and spirit forces, set the mind, or fill the mind, fill the heart, fill the life with that of service to others in the manner that self will be crucified in the flesh, and present the body holy and acceptable unto him, which is the reasonable self. Now, as to what they each are to do about these experiences becomes a matter of choice. For with the knowledge that such influences prompt the emotions that arise in their experiences in the present, the choice becomes rather a matter of what the ideal of each is. There has been given what may be said to be a pattern, or that from which they each may gather that lesson upon which they each may make their choice. When others condemned her, that was taken in adultery, did he, the Master, the Maker of all that is, condemn? No. Rather gave he, neither do I condemn thee. But sin no more. Again we may find the same given by him, or is said respecting him. Who art thou to judge thy brother? Rather let that which is the spirit of truth and of good consciousness direct thee in thy choice. Hence the period in the experience comes when they each must make a choice within themselves from a different emotion. They each must sacrifice. Yes, each must crucify. Desires that are prompted only by either self-sacrifice or self-indulgence. Am I correct in feeling that we should develop to the point where we do not have to suffer illness before dying, but should be able to keep a healthy body and just pass out of it when we have finished our work here? This is an ideal, an idea. Those who apply may attain. Those who have the price to pay, those who must meet in their application of their tenets and truths in self, must still bear their cross. That each entity must and will someday attain to the ability to be conscious of physical death without the physical suffering is true, but the day, to most, is far, too far away. Why does constant awareness of aloneness and incompletion predominate? The purpose being in the right direction, the loneliness is felt because of the feeling of insecurity. Let that light be in and through thee that encompassed him, even in the garden when he asked those to watch with him while he prayed. Surround thyself with that consciousness which comes in merely calling the name. Jesus, the Christ, the same yesterday, today and forever. This will bring the conviction within self as it did to him when he withstood the temptations of the body, the temptations of the mind, the temptation of purpose in the earth. And angels ministered unto him. For, to each entity, each soul, there is ever the ministering angel before the throne of grace, the throne of God. The ministering angel is the purposefulness, the spirit with which ye would do anything in relationship to others. For, that which is of the creative forces lives on and becomes expressive in the emotions of the mental and physical self, wherever there is the manifestation of the ideals that prompt same. And it is in such ideals that the face of that done to thy fellow man stands as the memorial, or as the expression before the throne of grace. In the same manner as he who is the way, the truth and the light expressed, through meeting in the flesh those things that became stumbling stones in dealing with his fellow man. Thus he became the way. For, no soul enters any experience perchance. For it comes with a purpose. And the entity as well as every entity should know. The divine, the first cause, is mindful of the entity. This is evidenced by the very fact that the entity finds itself conscious of being itself and aware of good and evil, light and darkness, life and death. These are all one. One is as life and death. There is no death to the spiritual. Hence by his passing through same, proved, indicated, that he overcame death. That we through him might have life and life more abundant. These should be not merely tenets or truths for the entity, but living things, living experiences. Outline and explain a method or technique of effective prayer as to apply the laws of increase and to overcome the laws of gravity by these entities. As ye are in and under, and apply laws, ye become the law. As he applied the law. That is, as Jesus, the man, that is in relationship to thyself. As he applied the law he made himself equal with the law, by becoming the law. No doubt, no fear, no animosity, no self. But selfless in God's purpose. This overcomes the law as related to all phases of materiality, including gravity, including supply, including all phases of the experience in the earth. And as we find manifested in the very life of him who is the way, it is a part of that consciousness to which all aspire to attain, and in and through which all may receive that which is the harmony and peace and life and health. And the manner of expression as was in his body. It bled, it suffered, it showed not only the water and the blood as would gush forth, but showed to man how that in the material world he is subject to material laws, even though divine in its essence, its abilities. To the entity. Do not attempt to justify self, ever. Rather let thy purpose, thy desire, thy hope, thy faith, ever be in purpose. To the glory of the Father through the Son, manifested in the earth, who never attempted to supplant. Only applied the laws of God in the spiritual, in the mental, and thus in the material brought miracles, the increase, the activity that overcame the laws of gravity. These ye may do, as the children of God. For to each that lives with and in keeping with the purposes of all to the glory of the Father, he gives power for such to become the children of God, brothers then with that way and purpose. If you would have friends, be friendly. If you would even have fun, make fun for someone else. Read the comic papers. Not as to become sarcastic, no. But remember, ever, even thy master, Jesus, could laugh in the face of the cross. Can ye find a better example? Then see the joy, even in sorrow. See the pleasure that may even come with pain. These are mostly matters of the mind. For mind is ever the builder. As you think in your heart, so are you. Through that which has been given each in their experiences in the earth is shown how they have had this or that in their experiences which has created, has builded the present conflicting influences. Meet them. In what? He, thy king, thy lord. Yea, thy brother hath shown thee the way. I am the way. I am the water of life. Drink ye deep of same, that the healing you each may administer to others may flow as his love through thee. For love healeth the wounded. It binds up the brokenhearted. It makes for understandings where differences have arisen. For God is love. And as he gave, as he allowed, as he purposed, the children of men through their brother, Jesus, might know the way. Because he comes to the hearts of those that seek, not those that are indifferent, not to those that pass by. Not to those that seek for self's glory, for self's gratification, but that the love of God may be manifested. For I and the Father and thee and me may know the truth, and the truth shall. And does make you free. Background. In New Testament incarnation, this entity was one of the 70 sent by Jesus. The entity has oft belittled these abilities within self. Yes, of self they are not. But in the doing, in the being of that which is ever in the way, ye walk in the way even as he walked. Just being patient, just being kind, just showing brotherly love, ye manifest his love until he comes again. And ye may be sure ye will be among those who will meet him in the way. Just keep thy face to the light, my son, and the shadows will fall far behind. Let that which has prompted thee guide thee in thy daily life. For as he sent thee into the earth among thy fellow men in the days of yore, so may he in the present in thine own gentle manner direct others, by precept and by example, into the way of the cross that leads home. Then, depending upon what an individual or soul has made its ideal, in any experience, under any environ, the experience becomes either a helpful, hopeful expression, or it becomes one for self-gratification, self-glorification, even self-edification. Without the spirit of truth directing may become stumbling blocks in the experience. As it may be given to each soul, then, know in what thou hast believed. Know thy ideal. For this ever becomes that through which the soul, the entity, makes the decisions in its mental, its material understanding. For know that the wisdom of God, of the divine, is lacking in envies, in strifes, in desires that are only of the material satisfactions. Then know in whom, in what, thou hast believed, and believing. In faith. Give that in his keeping, and there will come, as has been promised in thine vision, that even through and by the way of the cross is the light of his countenance made manifest in thine own life and existence. For in him is life and light, and he is the light of the world. In him is no darkness at all. Leave all in his hands, for he has appointed the way. Choose thou whom ye will serve. Those things that would make afraid, or those that satisfy for the moment, or those that build and build in the heart and soul to life everlasting in him. For he alone has overcome the world. And such must be kept. While there may be many signposts, many roads that lead to the cross. The cross is that through which all gain the greater concept of the purpose of life's expression with human souls, endeavoring to seek the light. Know this, learn this well. God is mindful of thee, and will not allow thee to suffer beyond that ye are able to bear in thy body-mind, that ye may prepare the soul for the closer walk with him. Remember this also, that though he were the Son, yet learned he obedience through the things which he suffered. Thou art not greater. Thou art not better than he. Yet in him ye may find relief, ye may find help. For hath he not given that where 2 or 3 persons in body, mind and soul agree toward anything, ask in my name of the Father, he will give it to thee. These are sure promises. Not that this, a physical being, may be used to gratify only thine own heart of body, but that the use of thy limbs may be to the glory of God. Hold thee this in mind, in meditation, in prayer, and how those ye love best in body, those who love thee best in body, are to pray, to meditate, to work with thee physically. Then the mental attitude. What should an individual, what should self do about that is the spiritual ideal in its dealings with its fellow man? For as he has indicated, inasmuch as ye do it unto the least of these thy brethren, ye do it unto me. Is that thy ideal, or is thy ideal, others must do as I say, irrespective of what I say or why, or is it tempered more with, we will work together, and as I see fit then may we apply, or what is thy ideal materially? That individuals are given a greater opportunity in this or other directions, or that all should work together for good, that there be no hardships for any. That there is need for suffering, yes, for though even he were the Son, yet learned he obedience through the things which he suffered, but he wept with those who wept and rejoiced with those who would rejoice. Not taking away the cross, but bearing the cross with every soul who puts its trust in him. Can 257 receive donations from people he has introduced during the past years? Provided 257 presents same as a service to mankind, and not as I accomplish so much for so much. Let the body mind, the body consciousness, gain this lesson. That I must be made one with the I am, rather than the I made to appear as the representative of the I am, see? For let that mind be in you which was in him as gave those lessons as were written upon the tables of stone. For this begins with the first and the greatest commandment of all. Set not self in seeking or in obtaining, or in any manner set self beyond or a judge of any man's, or of any individual's, or of any ideas above or beyond that first set. Thou shalt love the Lord thine God with all thine heart, thine mind, and thine body. Act, talk, and be as that is set first, see? Not position, not in power, not in might. For he that makes himself of no estate may become through same the greatest of all. For, as has been given, though he were the Son, yet learned he obedience through the things he suffered. Set not self's opinion, set not self's position as being of aught. But that I may be used as the channel of blessings to others. Not as to how may I gain blessings from service to others, but how may I be used as the channel of blessings to others. In the ideas, in the purposes, as are set forth in this association, these are as the tentative ideas of service. Wilt thou apply, and let thine mind, thine heart, thine body, be used as a channel of blessings to others? Answer. From within,